We missed last week getting ready to leave on the Great Siberian Sushi Run, but we're back and catching up on your questions. This round we're talking about how we lube our shafts and rudder posts. Spoiler, not with bacon grease. Whether our videos should be a little more PG, and if PropSpeed's worth the hype. We also discuss speed sensors, should ours be ultrasonic, and whether we actually are going to stop in Siberia. And of course, the question of the day got me thinking again. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Your Questions Answered. I apologize for last week. It was a little bit hectic and unfortunately we just couldn't make it happen. We were getting ready for departure and we had a million things to do and not very much time to do it in. So today I'm going to answer all the questions from the last 2 weeks and let's get started. And by the way, we are actually up North Vancouver Island mainland side in a lovely little area called Geetla Cove. And that's actually the little entrance there that we brought the boat into. A tight little narrow area and a beautiful little oasis inside. It's amazing in here. So we're going to get to the questions here, but enjoy the scenery. First question is from Lee Mank 4109. I may be missing something, but shouldn't there be grease on the rudder shaft prior to installation? No, you're not necessarily missing anything. There is lubrication required on the rudder before it goes back in, not before it goes back in, when it's in use. However, that's actually running on a cutlass bearing, just like a shaft. So that is all lubricated with seawater. It's not a fast moving shaft, so it's got a standard cutlass bearing, just like a shaft would. At the very top, there is a support bearing that is a greased tapered roller bearing. And obviously that's got grease in it, but as far as the shaft goes, where it goes through the log, it is just a standard cutlass bearing. Kevin Barry 71 asked, I expect you know more about this than I do. Not difficult, but last I checked, Siberia is Russia. And these days, Russia is not the most well disposed towards those of us from the West. Concerns? Funny enough, yes. I don't think we know any more or less about it than you do as far as the current temperament toward Russia. But what we're finding now is we're hearing that Japan, which is our final destination on this first big leg, they're not taking kindly toward anybody coming from Russia. They're actually turning away boats that are coming from Russia. So there might have to be some planning changes to make this all work, but we're closely monitoring the situation. We would still love to get to Siberia. However, Japan is our main goal, and if going to Russia is going to somehow put that in jeopardy, we're going to skip it and we're going to go straight to Japan. Next question up is from Jack DeBurr. Would you be better off with an ultrasonic log device? What he's referring to is the speed log, so that tells us our speed through water. I would imagine that there would be better off with that, and that might be something that I'll look into in the future. Right now, I've actually completely removed that entire sensor because none of it was working properly. When we removed it, it was full of water, so you'll be seeing a little bit of video of that later. But right now, we have no speed log for speed over water, and not sure when that will be back anyway. Next question up is from Jack540. What is the advantage of having a physical speed sensor? Do you use it to measure the current of the water by comparing speed sensor to GPS? Basically, that's about it. So the speed through water is the only thing that's really accurate for measuring your efficiency of your engines, what your fuel burn is, because say, for example, I only have GPS and I'm in a 2-knot current and I have my old engine showing that I was burning 9 gallons an hour at 9 knots. And then later on, I test my new engines and they're only showing that I'm doing 5 gallons per hour at 9 knots. What if there's 2 knots of a current less and I don't know? That's going to skew those readings because obviously I'm going to be going faster or slower in one situation or the other. So the paddle wheel in the speed log is actually, it gives you, regardless of the current, what your actual hull movement through the water is. So you can still get an accurate measurement of that to compare to your fuel burn. Next question up is from K. Kim. Did you remove the shipping bolts on the washer? Yes, we did. I don't know if anybody has ever installed a washing machine and forgotten to take the shipping bolts out of them, they tend to walk if you do that. Because what happens is that drum is on a big spring system. So when you have uneven loads like laundry and it's on a spin cycle, if you don't have that drum free, that imbalance gets transmit directly to the case of the washing machine. And that whole washing machine will shake and rattle, and it will literally walk itself right off of a pedestal if you have it sitting on one. So very critical if you ever install washing machines, definitely remove the shipping bolts. It's an important step. We've got our new swag on our website, www.onboardtongaroa.com. Check it out. And obviously, we are on the Great Siberian Sushi Run now, and the best way that you could possibly support us is just subscribe. Oh, did you hit the subscribe button? Perfect. Let's go to the next question. Richard Moran, 1285. Hi guys, can I ask a favor? I appreciate that this is your channel and you are free to record any content you wish. But when I watch your videos, my nephews loved watching anything about boats and they like to watch your vids with me. So would it be at all possible to put a disclaimer at the onset of the video to warn of adult language so I can stop them from watching those episodes, please? Richard, we would love to make it as easy as possible on you. Unfortunately, there's a lot of times where, well, for starters, we tend to try not to curse or do things like that in our videos when we're filming. We try to avoid it, but occasionally we do. And when Janice is editing the videos, a lot of times she's not even watching the whole piece of footage that she's putting in. She's watching a clip at the beginning and maybe the end of it and then fitting it in there. So she's likely going to miss things. Not only that, I mean, it's probably become pretty obvious that there's a lot of adult humor in our videos, and quite honestly, it's just not based around the kids thing. And it would probably be fairly difficult for us to try to make it work like that, and that's who we are. So I'm gonna say it's probably just expect that there's going to be something in there on pretty much every video, especially on the refit videos, because boatyard stuff, we're busting our asses, and there's always going to be humor and cursing and whatever that's going to be going in there. The exploring videos, probably a lot less so, but we'll try our best. As for a warning, when we're uploading videos to YouTube, there is a specific tab there for made for kids or not made for kids. So when we're uploading videos, we are actually clicking the tab that they are not made for kids. So just be aware of that. Next up, a question from Chip Bisson 28. Being a rear steer like that, do you have to set toe in differently? So on boats, and I'm not sure if you mean cars versus boats or whatnot, because most boats are rear steer. There is toe. You do set rudders even on a boat with some toe for proper handling. As far as more or less toe, or maybe depending on where the rudders are, I don't really know. I just go off of a general toe setting for boats in general. We may get benefits for more or less. It's not something that I'm super concerned with at this moment. And just an apology, guys. I try not to record with sunglasses, but it is really bright out here today. So rather than seeing me squinty the entire video, I'm wearing sunglasses. Next question is from Liam Greenwood. Can you change your engine tune to better match your prop pitch? Not really, no. It's the engine is what the engine is. It produces what it produces, and basically you just have to make sure you're not overloading the engine, and there's no tuning that you can do that's going to change the actual loading of the engine, because to spin X of pitch through the water at X speed takes X amount of power. That's just the way it is. That doesn't change. So I could change my tune multiple different ways, but the power requirement is always going to be the same, and the engine's always going to be running in that area. And if I try to, have something where I'm running more pitch and I adjust the tune for that, it's still going to be overloaded when I'm running in those areas. So not really. The tune is the tune and the pitch is the pitch, and you just have to make sure they can play with each other. Tim R 31908 asked, does the shaft get any kind of lubricant? I see you use Prince Albert and Aken for power polish. Prince Albert in a can. So I actually had to Google Prince Albert in a can, and I highly wouldn't recommend it. There was some information that might have been relevant, and then there was a lot that I would recommend that people never look at ever. As for the lubricant, usually we just use soap. Once the boat's moving in the water, the cutlass bearings are lubricated by seawater. They're a water-cooled bearing, the water-lubricated bearings, so there's no need for anything more than that. Next up, from Rusty Shackelford Squirrel the Third, or no, sorry, I said that wrong. Rusty Shackelford Squire the Third. I said squirrel, sorry about that. Why not put PropSpeed on the rudders? You could. Matter of fact, they say you can run it on the entire running gear if you have a lot of money. That stuff is so expensive. It's like 500 bucks for like a little 10 of it. It's ridiculous. So that's mainly the only reason why we didn't put it on everything, because we didn't want to spend $1,500 on tins of silicone. But yes, it does work equally as well on rudders, shafts, all that stuff. Now, before you ask, this is our Rivers Inlet fish cleaning station. It's a DIY that's, it does the trick. Not the most attractive thing, but it works. Next question we've got from Ibutoyawen. I think that's what that says. Ibutoyatwen. Why did you not back raise those hose clamps 1/8 of an inch off for an easy visual on the rudder lock collar movement? It seems it would give you heads up if the collar needs to be tightened and prevent continued movement before leakage occurs. Do I have the intended function of the hose clamp wrong? Cheers. Funny enough, the actual hose clamp has a couple of uses. So for starters, I use it to pry the collar down, because those collars can be a little tough when you start to get them compressed. So I just get a screwdriver under it and just give it a little bit of a push down, and then lock the collar down a little bit, and then move the hose clamp, and then just keep doing that until I've got the compression correct. So that's one thing. And then once you get the collar locked in place, like they're pretty rock solid. I don't anticipate ever having an issue with one, but the hose clamp at that point is just a safety. Should you have a loose something in there, it's just a backup on there. So I keep it right up against the collar, so there is no movement. Even if that collar does come loose, it's not going anywhere. It's gonna butt up against that hose clamp, and the hose clamp will hold it at least for a while. I also, when I'm got it all locked down, I mark the top of that hose clamp with a Sharpie pen. So I still have a visual reference as well as a safety backup for the ring. Next up, from Wiles Coyote, did you use any silicone grease when you put the cutlass bearing in, or did you put it in dry? So the cutlass bearing going into the stern tube is purely dry. There's nothing for lubricant in there, because you don't want that moving. It's supposed to be locked in there. As far as the shaft and the cutlass bearing, we just use soapy water. Once you're underway with the boat, there's seawater there, or even when you're in the water with the boat, there's seawater there. And the seawater is, like I said before in the video, that's all you need for lubricant on a cutlass bearing. They're specifically designed for that. So no lubricants necessary, just soap on there to make it easier to get the shaft in when everything's dry, because stainless steel on rubber, when it's dry, doesn't slide super well. So always good to have a little bit extra lubricant in there just till you get it in. Once you're in the water, no longer an issue. Got another question from Wiles Coyote. What ECU are you using for the engines? Also, are those stock injectors and turbos, or did you tune the engines on a dyno before you installed them? And did you tune the engines on a dyno? No, the engines were not tuned in a dyno. Matter of fact, the engines were not even run until the boat was back in the water. As far as the other questions, ECU is Balder Control Systems DID1. They're one of the few common rail diesel aftermarket engine management systems that you can purchase, and they have been working pretty darn well. I've been very happy with them. Not stock injectors, well, not stock for the truck engines anyway. The injectors are actually the injectors off of a QSB 550, which is the marine version of the engines, and they're specifically off of a set serial number, so I know they are for that exact engine. I think, as far as I know, They flow a little bit more than the truck injectors, and they have a wider spray angle as well, or a narrower, one of the two. I can't exactly remember. Not relevant for most of the conversation because the pistons are off of the same engine, and those two relationships are made to work together, the spray angle of the injector and the cup of the piston. So those are matching off of that serial number. And I think that's pretty much it. Oh, the turbo. Turbos are not stock as well. Turbos are, I don't know if I'd call it an upgrade or a cross grade. They're a dry turbine housing on these turbos, so they're not wet like the QSBs would have, and they're not a variable turbine like the truck engines would have had. They're just a fixed geometry turbine housing, and maybe a little bit better flow on the compressor side, a little bit more efficient compressor than what the stock turbos would have had. And just a heads up, the next 3 videos are going to be engine alignment, ECU installation and tuning, and engine starting. So that should answer a lot of those questions as well that you just had. Got a question from Bloody Hot Sauce. Is it worth putting PropSpeed on the stainless shafts to stop them from pitting? I don't know that it would necessarily stop the pitting. Maybe. It might seal them up. But the problem is the part of the shaft that's pitting is actually within the stern tube of the boat. So there isn't even actually a way to get PropSpeed on them, because when you were trying to get the shaft back into the boat, you'd rub it all off anyway. It is not accessible once the shafts are in the boat. So unfortunately, even if it did work for preventing the pitting, we would never be able to get it on there and keep it on there. Some nasty horseflies around here. Congratulations, if you made it this far, you made it to the end of the video, and it is question of the day time. This week's, or I guess the last 2 weeks' question of the day is from EmpireAerial.com, I guess. You guys have a lot of room in there for much larger props and thus much larger rudders, which would give you much more rudder authority in the water. It might add a few inches to your overall draft though, but the way you use your boat, I don't see that being much of an issue. I think you would end up with a way better fuel efficiency as well. What are your thoughts on this? Honestly, I would love to get some bigger props on the boat. Larger diameter, less pitch, slower turning, all of this, or maybe more pitch, slower turning. No, it'd be less pitch, bigger diameter, less pitch, would definitely help a lot. I think that would increase efficiency for sure. It would give a lot more bite on the propellers as well. Get the boat moving a little bit quicker, I suppose. Man, get off of me, really. But as far as, oh, come on, get. Don't want to get bitten by a horsefly today. Those little guys hurt. Anyway, oh, now you've pissed him off. Thanks. Get. Okay, back to the question. Yes, I would love to get bigger propellers. I wouldn't worry at all about the additional draft. Not even sure if it would stick out that much farther below the bottom of the keel anyway, but we may look into that in the future, we'll see. But yes, that would certainly be beneficial, I think, in multiple areas.
What about the rudders?
Rudders as well would help to be bigger. Ideally, I would like the rudders farther back on the boat, and I do have some thoughts on that. There might be a little project I'm going to be embarking on in the future. We'll see.
Wait. I don't know anything about that.
I think I've talked about it before.
I don't think so.
I call BS. Looking into possibly doing a third rudder that would work as a slave off of the front 2 rudders. So that would give us a triple rudder configuration, and the third rudder would be at the very back of the boat. So basically it would be within this rear anchor locker here at the very front edge of it. So it wouldn't impede the anchor locker at all, but it would give us more rudder authority. And that's it, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for commenting and putting your questions up. You guys are what make these question and answer sessions come together. So we're gonna get back to what we were doing here. I've still got more stuff to do down in the engine room, which is what I was doing before this. And we'll see you guys next week.
If you missed last week's video, shafts fitted, PropSpeed on, and our spare props stolen, go give it a watch. It's a gooder and a perfect lead-in to today's question and answer.